Tabarakallah. Barakallah.
Assalamu alaikum
Salatu salam ala Rasulullah. I don't know the rest of it. They don't say
Me
that,
neither.
do they?
They do. So
Do they?
more of a woman's thing.
Yeah. I was watching my wedding videos and my Morocco family were doing it at the wedding, but all my Algerian side of the family were like, they didn't know what to say. So I thought maybe they don't do it.
Well, maybe it's a West Algeria, Morocco thing. That could be.
We were watching, we were finishing, I sent you a video the other day. We were watching a little bit more of that video of the train journey between Tunis and Zaire. And how it's so, we're so khawa, bro. We're just so khawa. Like, he was going there, he's like, oh, if you go to a shop and you want to spend some Tunisian money and you haven't got any Algerian money, they'll just take it, and vice versa. And I was looking into the exchanging currency and stuff, and technically, you're not allowed to just do a straight swap. You have to change it to like euros and dollars because they got the chokehold on our system. We can't.
Right.
وش مدخلهم? Do you know what I mean? But black market stuff, there's people all over the streets that would just change Tunisian dinar straight for Algerian. So, but yeah, it looked so easy, man. 44 dinar to get a first class ticket from Tunis to Annaba, which is about £11. And it's cheaper if you don't want first class.
Tunisian currency strong then.
Oh, there you go then. But it's about 4 times. Yeah, so £4. 4 dinar to the pound at the moment.
Well, you know what the Algerian dinar is?
Go on.
300.
Oh, 300. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. But your currency, I struggle to get my head around it. I've got too many currencies in my head to remember how they work. And it's not till I'm there a little bit that I can. But the Algerian one, I never really. Are you familiar with the Algerian kind of monetary system when you're there? Does it take some adjusting?
I mean, it's just the way people verbally, the way they talk about the currency or money is they always talk in centimes. They talk in the smaller currency. So it's the same as if in the UK, if, everything was in pennies, basically.
1,000
so
pennies.
If something is £3, then it's 300 pennies.
Yeah. It's a bit like that in Tunis, yeah. You'd say elf.
Oh, they do that in Tunisia as well.
Yeah, so elfien would be 2 dinar. But you don't say dinarain.
No, elfien is 20, no?
Well, no, we say elfien is 2 dinar. So elfien, it's interesting because it's 2,000 pennies, and then miet franc is 100 pennies, which is like 10p. It's all a bit. When you're there and you're using it, you obviously get your head around it. I need to remember Morocco. I haven't been to Morocco in a while, but what else again? What do I want to start off with? Yeah, just a little bit of a part 2. How things now? You got internet, you got a sofa. Tabarakallah, salam B. Amazing.
Salam. Yeah, bro. Now I've got the essentials. I would say when was it? A couple days ago, I think I got this sofa. And then today my desk was delivered. I'm fancy, bro. So I got a standing desk, but there's only, how, like, this is how, like, funny things, like the ways of finding stuff. I must have searched on ChatGPT, because whenever I'm like, just don't know where to even begin, I just go to ChatGPT. So I must have asked, like, months ago, I must have asked ChatGPT, where would I get a standing desk in Algeria? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to get it from a normal, like, shop. It's like, obviously, it's a very niche product. And then it found a Reddit thread about standing desks in the Algeria subreddit. And there was a guy saying, I got one from this place. And that place, they had a website and everything. They seem to do, like, fancy kind of office furniture and stuff. So I called them and I said, is it you lot that got the standing desks? They're like, yes, sir. And then I just said, I want a desk and stuff. They're like, yeah, it costs this much. It's this big. And they hooked it up and they delivered it today. And this is the way they do deliveries here is like, you just pay on delivery, right? So they arranged it. So he said the legs of the standing desk, which are motorized, they are from Italy, so they import them from Italy, and then the wooden like desk thing at the top is from Algeria. So yeah, they took about a week for them to just, I don't know, get it together and stuff. and they made me a little bit bigger than the normal size, 70 centimeters instead of 60. And then they brought it today. Very nice guy in a van brought it. And then this never happened to me so far, but after the guy delivered it and then he left, then another guy came on a little scooter and he only came to pick up the money. Usually I would pay the delivery guy straight away, but this guy has sent someone separate just to collect the money. So I paid that guy, and then that guy, obviously he might pay him a bit of money just to go and collect the money, and then he
that makes sense actually. That makes sense because the driver's probably a third party anyway, and they got to pay him to do the job, and he probably has loads of jobs. And then I was looking into that because a lot of online shopping in the capability of online shopping across North Africa really varies. I was surprised to find out that Amazon exists in Egypt, for example. So they must have some sort of payment system. But Tunisia is very similar in that way to Algeria, where a lot of online shopping is pay on arrival, which is a big commitment for people.
I had a friend who used to do cash on delivery e-commerce in Saudi Arabia, because apparently in Saudi Arabia they still don't have that trust where they're going to pay for something in advance of it arriving and making sure it's what they wanted. So he used to do cash on delivery, and he said about 30% of the orders would never get delivered. Like the person would either refuse it or they wouldn't pick up the phone, it was like a 70% delivery rate. Here, I don't know what it's like here, but for example, I asked the taxi driver the other day, I said, why, whenever I book a cab on like the Algerian version of Uber, why do you always call me? Why do they always have to call me? Why don't they just come to the location? He said, so many times I go to the location and it's wrong. For example, they put the wrong location. Secondly, sometimes I go to the location, they just don't pick up and I just wasted my time. So we always call to confirm you're actually in that location and you actually want a cab.
Makes sense.
So they always do that. And the guy, funnily enough, this taxi driver, he called me to confirm, and then I confirmed, and then he called me back straight away. And he said, wait, you are Algerian, right? I'm like, yeah, because I must sound different. And then he's like, okay. And then he came. And I said, why do you ask me if I'm Algerian? He said, because sometimes I've had issues with Malian, there's a few Malians and people from Niger here. Like they're migrants, Yani. I think they come to Algeria hoping eventually to get to Europe. And so a lot of them are like kind of homeless and stuff. So he said, I've had issues with them. So like, I don't really want to pick them up. Sometimes they didn't pay me, or sometimes I get in trouble with the police for taxiing them around. So that's what he said to me. All my furniture has been like that, like cash on delivery. Like maybe if I'm in the shop, I will pay just like 20, 30% deposit, and then I'll pay the rest on delivery kind of thing.
You went to school and you studied English, science, you studied maths. Then you went to university, studied engineering, economics, maybe computer science. But where along the line do you ever learn about how to be a man of character, how to be a man that takes action, how to have a resilient mindset, and to build yourself to become a man that you're proud of, especially the Islamic way? Because there are a lot of men, when they want to learn how should a man act in this situation, especially in 2025, they will either end up going left side to the feminism or right side to the red pill. Well, I wrote a book specifically that cuts through both of those, and it just goes to the source, to Islam, to show you how to be a man of character according to Islam. I've got a free chapter for you in the description. Click that link, check it out, and if you like it, you can get the whole book.
Inshallah, that makes sense, I suppose, but it's nice that there is that level of trust with people, because you want to, I mean, for you, you're not too worried because you make the order and they show up and you haven't lost anything if they don't necessarily. Exactly. We almost did that with some sofas,
I don't have
actually.
much to lose.
Yeah. We ordered some sofas in Tunisia, but I don't think we meant to order them. I think their website had like a fill-in. I think my mum wanted to see the quote or something, and she didn't realize that. She thought she was going to get to like a payment screen, but then it ended up like, okay, see you on Friday, whatever it was.
Right.
She had to call them next day or whatever, say, no, I didn't. I was just, anyway, but they were right with it, as long as
I'm sure that happens all the time, man.
Absolutely. That's brilliant.
Even like the fact, like one thing that's new for me here is like everything is cash, right? like like in the UK, nothing is cash nearly, and here's like everything is cash.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know, so I, for example, I'll go to when I'm going to like buy furniture. I'm going to furniture with like 300,000-400,000 dinars on me, you know.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and it's just a lot. It's just stacks, bro.
The banking system though is so predatory in North Africa. At least I've seen it in Tunisia. So I've when I've got tenants that pay in cash and tenants that pay in, you know, through bank accounts. And I've got 2 bank accounts in Tunisia, one of which one tenant pays in, and I don't use that as a spending account or anything. The other one is like my spending account, but sometimes there's money in there. Anyway, when I was in England, I wanted to see how much like money movement can I do from these bank apps that I have on my phone, like these Tunisian, because it used to be that I couldn't do anything unless I'm over there. But now, as you know, technology is catching up there a little bit. You can move money around, and I could probably send money to people. So I thought, let me send 5 dinar from one account to another and just see what happens. And as far as I remember, they charged me a fee to send it out from one account, and it charged me a receiving fee from my other account.
What is this, like a cross-border kind of thing?
Even though it's just 2 Tunisian accounts, essentially in Tunisia, communicating with each other.
Are they the same bank or different banks?
2 different banks, so that could be a reason as well. It charged me £2.50 from one account to leave, and then £2.50 from the receiving one. Now, I don't know if it's a flat fee or a percentage or whatever, but I ended up, just to transfer a fiver, I had to pay a fine. I just thought, okay, I don't like that whatsoever, because I didn't do a larger sum. I don't know how, you know, what the actual percentage actually comes out to. But right now it's looking like 50% each time, which
it's probably more likely to be a flat fee, I suppose. Probably.
Yeah, maybe. But
yeah, I mean, that's not really the case in most countries, isn't it? Most domestic transfers are free, and from what I know.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you've got the risk over there of a system that can be very quickly exploited, because the knowledge to exploit those systems is already out there. It's not keeping up with modern day. So because they are behind on those elements, all it takes is a couple of people that are well versed in, I don't know, computer hacking and bank hacking and all this cyber crime to just jump in as soon as they launch something new, because they won't have the cybersecurity to kind of back it off. I remember seeing a video like that of like some Tunisian boy that was just studying IT, and he hacked his school's IT system. The school didn't know what was going on. It was quite a funny video, actually. He thought the police got in touch with him, and the media got in touch with him, because he came out and said it was him. He thought, oh, this is my moment. I'm going to become like I'm going to fix it for them, but I'm going to be like, not Edward Snowden, but, you know, he's going to be looked at by these tech companies in Tunisia like, oh, this guy's a genius, we need to hire him.
Right.
You know, you see those stories all the time at work.
Yeah.
Apparently the police were like, did you do this? He's like, yeah. They slapped him across the head. He goes, fix it. So he fixes it. And then they beat him up in jail.
Oh, wow.
And then he came because he was young, like, and then he came out and he was like, yeah, I thought I was going to be the next Elon Musk, but I ended up just getting a big my arse whooped.
This is how we treat our geniuses.
Yeah, well, when they try and hack his systems, I suppose. You know, going back.
Yeah, I don't even have a bank account here, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not yet, anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if you even need one. Yeah, I think you probably do.
No, like what I'm intending to get at minimum is like you can get a like post office bank account, which gives you this Dhahabiya card, and from that, from what I understand, that's like a domestic debit card type of thing. And basically, the reason I would get that is because from the post office thing, you can pay for bills. So that's what I would be using it for.
Okay. What about like supermarkets and stuff? There's some supermarkets that would take card payments and stuff like that, or just being able to withdraw cash. So we've got cash machines everywhere. Yeah,
you can withdraw, I suppose. I see them dotted around. I don't really pay attention to them because I don't have a bank account. But in terms of paying by card, I don't know if I've seen that. Maybe it exists. I saw someone in the water company paying for their bill with a card. But other than that, I've not really seen. But again, I haven't really been looking out for that.
It's just that risk. Like, you don't really want to be going out. You know, let's say you're traveling out of Algiers, or traveling in general, really. You don't want to be walking around with like thousands in your in your bag. I
Of
say
course,
thousands, but
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah. Of course.
You know, we've got 200 dinar max. Like I'd like to carry. Sometimes I'm unfortunately carrying more because I might have collected rent or something. But you know, I'll keep it in the bank. Like there's a bank opposite our building, so I just go straight there across the road. Or some of the tenants, I tell them pay into my bank account. But like I said, just keeping that card on me, and then if I'm ever traveling, I'm not worried that I'm going to get robbed or mugged. And people do pay attention, bro. People hover outside of bank accounts. People, you know, I remember my dad once taught me a lesson because I was walking with him and like I was younger, obviously. I didn't really have anybody. I was just with my dad, but I was still like 17, 18. Someone barged into me and like started on me, and I sort of squared up to him. And then my dad just grabs me, yanks me across, and he's like, "Oh, walk with me, walk with me." I was like, "Nah, Dad, he's hyping that, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "That guy was trying to rob you. He's maroof. Like, that's what he does. He barges into people that are dressed like you." And anyway, so I learned very quickly, oh, actually, I probably stick out and I'm easy
I was
target
thinking
for
about that
people.
the other day because I went to exchange money the other day. There's basically this, there's a shop. I don't know if the guy's actually selling this stuff. He's got all these things like food processors and blenders and stuff like that. Little shop. He's got loads of those. I guess if someone wants them, he'll sell it. But maybe his main thing is money exchange. So so I just go there, and he's got a good service, bro. He's got like a money counting machine. He's got envelopes. I exchanged some euros and some pounds. So, and then he gives me them in separate envelopes, and he writes on the envelope, "This is this much money," and then he gives it to me. But I walked out of that shop thinking, people obviously know this is what he does. And so if someone's walking out, then they could be a target because, you know, they could be carrying a lot of money. But that was not too much money. But when I had to pay the rent, because you have to pay the whole year's rent up front right here. So when I was paying that was like a lot of money. That was like £5,000 or something. And I didn't, you know, you can't, to enter Algeria without declaring the money, because you can't, you don't want to declare the money when you enter, because then you won't be able to exchange it at the black market rate, right? Because if you declare it, then they know that you've declared foreign currency. And then when you leave the country, they want to know, where is that money? Right? They don't want you using the black market. So I didn't want to declare my money. So, but you can only bring 1,000 euros per person if you're not declaring. So I didn't have enough money to pay the rent. But alhamdulillah, my brother-in-law knew somebody who would do it via bank transfer. So he came to me, actually. We jumped in his car. I did bank transfer to the UK, the money, and then he had the stacks with him in the car. And then
there's people like
actually he had it in his his little daughter's backpack, you know, his little pink kitty type of thing. And it was stacks and stacks, bro. But and then I was near the house anyway, so I just took it straight to the house.
When I was there in Zayed, I remember seeing like under bridges and like roundabouts and stuff, just all these guys just carrying wads like that and flicking it around because they're trying to advertise that they're black market.
Well, there's an area.
Have you seen those?
There's an area in Lasima, the square, where they have that. And there'll just be loads of guys all like competing with each other to exchange money. But crazy, that's where people, I think, used to go when they're looking to exchange. But I think these days, like, everybody offers it, Yani. A lot of random shops. I was in a Syrian restaurant with the actual Syrians working there. And I think he saw in my wallet I had euros. He's like, "You got euros? You want to exchange euros?" That's like, just like a lot of people do offer it.
It's so authentic, isn't it? It's like going back in the old days. Oh, I've got some gold. I'll trade it for some rice. I've got some frankincense. I'll trade it for some atar. Like, oh mate, I like that.
It's old school. It's old school.
Old school. And that's, you know what, that's part of the charm, really. And like we said, anyone listening, they might think, oh, that's really dangerous. And for every one person that may try or have a scheme to rob you on the street, there's 100 people in that area that will chase him down and beat him up. to get to help you and get back, because that's Islam, and that is the
I would say it's a very high trust society.
Absolutely.
Algerians will not admit to that, right? Because maybe they've not left the country, but it's a very high trust society. I'll tell you a big proof of that. Okay, something that I saw which was just blew my mind. I was driving in the car. I see a boy. He must have been 5-6 years old. Okay, in the street, carrying his brother, who must be 1-2 years old, and he's hitchhiking.
Yep.
A 5-6-year-old hitchhiking, bro.
Absolutely.
Like, on one hand, that shows it's a very high trust society.
Of course.
On the other hand, when you hear these mad stories of kids going missing and this happening to kids, I mean, look what you're doing, man, some of these people.
It's interesting, but you know what? And that will lead into our subject a little bit, but it makes me think, like, Suleiman is my age when I was in Tunisia, and I used to go to school on my own, and it's far. Like, we should just walk there or walk back. You know, go out on my own all the time. Lunch times, a lot of people would go home, and I'd stay in town and just run around in town or go to a restaurant. And me and my school friends would count our change together and be like, okay, yeah, I think we've got enough for a san lubia or something to eat all together, you know, with some khubz and that. And like, now I think, oh, Suleiman, could I send Suleiman down the road to the shop here? No, I wouldn't dare. I would not dare. Like, I couldn't even think about it. Even him crossing the road, I'd be more comfortable him crossing the road in Tunis than I would here, right?
Really?
I think so. I don't know why, but maybe not that I've come here. But if he'd grown up there,
maybe because you're from like more rural Tunisia.
Possibly. But it's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's just aqli over there. When you're raised there, it's more expected of you, and it's not abnormal to see kids that young, like, just out and about and running around. But going back to that trust thing, like, I've got another story like this, but my mum was in Morocco not too long ago, and she was in the souk in a small little village town where she's born, and she goes to check her phone, and her phone's gone, right? And she's like, tells my grandmother, oh, my phone's gone. And she starts making a scene. Yeah, I bet Allah, my phone. Someone's taking my phone. Everyone's looking at her. And then, like, a couple of minutes later, this teenager or whatever comes up to her and goes, oh, Haja, is this your phone? Haja, is this your phone? And she's like, yes, that's my phone. And then my gran goes up to him. She goes, yeah, well, haram, I know you're the one who took it. But what made him come back and give the phone? It's sort of that trust thing, right? It's like, okay, if someone found out that he's the guy that took the phone, whether, you know, someone recognized him as a sarraq or whatever, the society would just shun him or get beaten up, or everyone would snitch on him or whatever. Because there's that close-knit community element in those small areas. I don't know about, obviously, La Asma, but there's neighborhoods that people know each other and everyone knows each other. If you point that person out, someone in that area is going to know who that is. You know, that's Wuld Flan.
I mean, some of my family members, they said, like, that's one of the downsides of the capital, is that there are people there from all over, and they're like anonymous, if you like. They're anonymous to each other. So they could be very well behaved where they come from, but when they come to a brand new city, they don't have any reputation to uphold, you know, and they could kind of do whatever they want. So, you know, that's definitely possible, and I would expect that. But having said that, he seems pretty good, pretty decent.
It sounds like where you live is a bit more away from the center anyway. So you might end up kind of becoming a recognized member of that community and recognizing others in that neighborhood, local masjid, that kind of thing. But just to segue a little bit, because we spoke last week about England and the rise of hate crimes and the rise of, you know, what was it Starmer said? Island of strangers, that kind of thing. And there is an element of disconnectedness, and there is a lack of community in many parts of the UK. I'm probably not talking about, you know, East London or Birmingham or Manchester or, you know, those tight Muslim communities. I'll probably talk about where I'm from in Brighton. So a couple of weeks ago, we had, maybe more than a couple of weeks now, we had an arson attack in Peacehaven Masjid, which I used to live right next to Peacehaven, and that was my local masjid a few years ago. And it's crazy that it's so close to home. And I was up at night with Laith. I was feeding him a bottle of milk, and then my friends were texting me like, "Oh, the mesh has just been masjid's just been set alight, and I could believe it. I was like, no way. Now, a bit of context, and you guys might have seen this on news. So Peace Haven Masjid, you might have seen it. It went very viral, but I wasn't expecting it to. A bit of context about that masjid. It was built on an old pub, a very notorious pub that I don't know why it's shut down. Clearly it's shut down and they sold it because no one was going to it. I think it had a lot of issues historically with police and violence and stuff. So it might have actually been closed down by force. They bought it for, I don't know how much, but they've had a fundraiser to try and pay off the costs of it and the renovation and stuff. They had to strip it all out. There's a photo of one of the custodians of the masjid, young brother my age, I suppose. It's still got the pub taps on it. He was standing next to it with his stove and with his hat, and he just pretended to pull the thing. It was just hilarious because it just shows you like this place used to be a place of sin and now it's becoming a masjid, and it was fascinating. But when they obviously started that masjid, they were getting a bit of buzz, a bit of people sending letters, a bit of threat and stuff. But also they were getting a lot of normal people in the community in that area. It's a very, very white, predominantly white area, very small Muslim community. So to even have a masjid there was fascinating, really. But recently, I don't know if you've followed UK news and stuff, there's been this whole putting up the flags thing. Have you seen that? St. George's flags.
Yeah, a little bit. Everywhere. Can you summarize it for like me and the American listeners?
So there's like a movement, a Tommy Robinson, English Defence League style, right wing, whatever you want to call it, nationalist movement. And they're utilizing or hijacking the flag of the United Kingdom, either the Union Jack or the flag of England, the St. George's flag. They're using that as they're putting it up and they're saying there's nothing wrong with our flag. We should be proud of our country. But the intention behind it is to kind of, we don't want foreigners. We don't want immigrants. This is our country. We need to take our country back. That kind of anti-immigration rhetoric, anti-outsider rhetoric. And, despite whatever they want to say about their non-xenophobic intentions, those who have xenophobic intentions are the loudest, and they will hijack that movement, even if it was a innocent movement, right? So what ended up happening was that whole stretch of road where the masjid is, all the way up until Brighton, there was loads of flags put up on lampposts, on signs. The scaffolding companies started going along and putting them up, and they were getting recorded, and videos were going viral. People were cheering them on, but loads of people were like shouting at them, and it created a big tension. The local council were kind of stuck because when they would send contractors to go and take the flags down, people would shout at them, "What are you doing? You're unpatriotic. That's our flag, blah, blah, blah." And then you'd have counter protesters climbing up the lamppost trying to pull them down. You'd have counter protesters climbing up and putting their own flags up, whether it was like an LGBT flag or an inclusive flag, and there were some Muslim guys that were talking to me like, "Oh, we should put up some Muslim flags because these are clearly against us." I was like, "Mate, just everybody stop putting flags up." But yeah, really that stretch of road where Peace Haven is, because there's a big main highway that cuts through right against where the masjid is, that was covered in flags. So it kind of gave you an impression of that area. Anyway, recently, like I said, going back to the more present day, there's a ring camera footage from the masjid where an uncle comes in, and I recognize him, one of the regular attendees. He's a taxi driver. He drives up to the masjid. He's getting out of the masjid. He says something in Urdu to someone inside. And then the video footage cuts because it's obviously a scroll bar. It cuts 10 minutes later, and two guys in balaclavas and gloves come up. They try the door first, can't get in, and then it's worrying really because you're like, what if they did get in, right? But they try the door, don't get in, and then I think they start pouring. You can hear the sloshing of the jerry can. They're pouring some flammable, could be petrol, could be whatever, all over the door, and then like they lead it, I think, to the car. And then after that, a lot of other videos were popping up of the fire itself. In the ring camera, you see the fire. It cuts again. You see the fire, and that same, I think, uncle running out of the masjid while the fire's sort of starting. Alhamdulillah, there wasn't much damage to the front. The door was burnt and stuff, but it didn't reach inside. The car, unfortunately, the taxi of the uncle was completely burnt out, like not salvageable whatsoever. And the police treated it as a hate crime, although people were saying, oh, it should be a terrorist attack. It fits the criteria, etc., etc. That's a debate for another day. And it caused a bit of an uproar. I had Sky News call me because I posted it. I was the first to post the video on Twitter, but I didn't put the name of the masjid. So when people did, that obviously got more traction. But I remember searching Peace Haven and not finding anything. And I was like, this is so local. Nobody's going to have posted this. So I shared it. And then I did have, Sky News called me about it. And a couple of other reporters from different agencies called me. I wasn't there and I wasn't going to leave my baby at home and go and fight this fire, subhanAllah. But it was quite a shock because it was local, and you hear about this stuff happening everywhere else, but you never really expect it to be so local, which is ironic because there is no reason it shouldn't happen here. Although you think Brighton, Peacehaven, this kind of area is meant to be so inclusive and so diverse, but really there's such a big difference between the demographic of Brighton and the next city or the next town along. It's just like worlds apart. So yeah, there's no surprise.
So the next town along is very like white, basically.
Yeah, as soon as you leave Brighton, you're just surrounded by the rest of Sussex, which is predominantly very white. Unless you go into like big cities within Sussex, then you start seeing, like there's Crawley, for example, which is up north near Gatwick. And because it's near Gatwick, historically, it's full of ethnic minorities because they tend to work in the airport and their families would live there. And then, so... But everywhere in between is just very, very white. And I suppose there is a bit more conservatism and Christianity, at least, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, what does that say about the climate of England? There's also other things, by the way. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that Nico or Milana video. He's a famous YouTuber, British YouTuber. He's mixed race.
Oh.
Okay, so I should advise you to watch it just so you get an idea of what the climate is right now. But I'll describe it to those who don't know it. There was a Reclaim the Country march by Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins and all these right-wing personalities, right? And it was in London. So they all converged in London to do like maybe it was a song and dance and a march and a cheering and whatever, getting drunk and whatever they do in their free time. It's just an excuse to get drunk, right? What does he do? He's a mixed race guy. And that's important because what he does is he puts makeup on to be like this old white geezer and starts, he's got security with him that are all like blending in. They're wearing the Union Jack flags and all this stuff. And he starts going into the crowd and just talking to people and getting their thoughts, goading them a little bit. Like, oh, what do you think of these immigrants? Blah, blah, blah. And the stuff they're coming out with, bro. Okay. Almost every single person that was in the video, at least, obviously it could be selective editing, but every single person just brought up Muslims. Like Muslims was their number one issue. They say immigrants, but they just link that to Islam and link that to Muslims. Oh, I see Muslims, there's Muslims this, it's Muslim that. Or I love bacon. Or one of them is like, I've got a knife on me now, and he's like, what would you do if you saw a black guy or a Muslim guy? Oh, I'd stab him. I'd stab him right now. It's like, oh, what's your favorite kind of immigrant? Oh, a dead one. Like stuff like this. And if you watch the video, and we watched it, me and my wife watched it, my family watched it, and it was really unsettling because we thought we left a lot of this stuff back in like the old days. And we did have a long period where this really was unacceptable. And it felt like it was unacceptable. And a lot of these racist personalities felt like they were very isolated. And there was a small number of them. And yes, we had Islamophobia. Of course we did. But generally speaking, even the Islamophobia we had was subtle. I think I would argue it was subtle. Yes, you had like EDL marches here and there. But generally speaking, it wasn't so loud and proud and unprovoked. It might come out in an altercation, or if you bump into someone, or, you get into a heated argument with someone and then they start saying, oh, F off you this or F off you that. So yeah, watch that and that'll give you an idea of the kind of climate. You've got Nigel Farage, who's the leader of the Reform Party. gaining a lot of popularity, with some polls suggesting that he could be the next UK Prime Minister because of the fracturing of all the other parties that generally usually win, the two-party system. Conservative obviously lost to Labour, but Labour's doing a terrible job based on other people. And I don't really have an assessment of that, but based on what people view, anyone in power is always going to be seen to be doing a horrible job. So that's hands down. So and because of that, even those parties are adopting these xenophobic tendencies just to try and claw back those voters that may have gone to reform, right?
That's sort of the trend is now, basically.
Yeah. So it's like, stop the boats. We're going to monitor these immigrants. Asylum seekers, we're going to send them back to this place. And that's the discourse is all of that stuff. To the extent that, like, my wife was Islamophobically abused in our neighborhood by some rando. And then she thought it was a one-off, and it happened again when they saw them again. And we did report it to the police, and we're dealing with that investigation. We've got photos, we've got all sorts. But the woman who did it was just unprovoked, not like she bumped into her or get out of my way, or what's your problem? It was just, she sees a Muslim woman, she shouts abuse, she shouts Islamophobic stuff. And she's got a little girl with her, maybe a 5-year-old daughter with her, who's completely, like, it's almost like you're intoxicated by your racism to just do that in front of your kids, unprovoked.
True.
If you had
it's
your
the next level when you do it with your kids,
if you had your son with you, you wouldn't even want to get into an argument with anyone. I've got my kids with me. You try and avoid that. Let alone you're the one going to start it. You know what I mean?
It's a woman. She's got a daughter with her. She's sober. Like, that means she really wanted this.
She really wants it, right? So and it's close to home. It's like in our neighborhood, and we live right in the middle of central Brighton, like right in the center. It's not even on the outskirts, or if I go to the bottom of my hill, all I'm seeing is pride flags and inclusivity and diversity, right?
Yeah.
So it was a bit of like these guys are really getting empowered. And why are they getting empowered? Because they've got their phones, bro, and they're scrolling through their tailored algorithm. This person got raped by an immigrant. This person just got killed by an immigrant. This selective outrage of crimes, and a white
immigrants staying in hotels for free and all that stuff.
There's a 50-year-old man that raped a 5-year-old. Let's skip that, because a white man. Sorry, let's skip those ones, because they skip those ones, and that's not the stuff that outrages them. There's criminals in all shapes and sizes and colors.
I mean, and also, history rhymes, doesn't it? And
of course,
I remember my friend who I always try and get on the podcast, but he never wants to come on. And he's like, his background is in history. And he's always telling me that the direction the UK is going in right now is similar to Germany in the 30s. And he's like, literally, without being too extreme, he's like, don't rule that type of thing out. He's like, because all the 100%. Ingredients are similar, all the situation is similar. I mean, what was happening in Germany in the 30s was the Depression, right?
Yeah.
Do they call it the Great Depression, right? Which was
that's in America,
Europe, I think, or maybe that was even in America, that was
similar sort of
20s,
thing,
30s. There was a bit of a worldwide economic crisis, right? So the US was affected. Germany was also affected. That's the whole thing. I don't know if you studied this in school, but in history, we saw those photos of people going with a wheelbarrow to buy bread, and stuff like that. So Germany was in a bad place economically. On top of that, they had the recent history of World War I and the humiliation they faced. And all of these ingredients came together, which was the perfect storm for then the National Socialist Party to whip it all up and galvanize it. And accumulated in the Nazi Party winning. So the ingredients are similar. It's so crazy. I find it fascinating how certain events lead to other events, lead to other events. This current, emboldening of these people of this leaning and this persuasion, them feeling emboldened, this started. Obviously, parts of it started hundreds or decades ago, right?
100%,
but specifically, it started with COVID, bro. A lot of things started with COVID.
Yeah.
What I mean specifically is So COVID, obviously the world shut down, okay? And then the governments flooded the countries with free money and all of that. And then right now, 2023, maybe it started, but people are feeling it more and more as time is going on, that money that was dumped into the economy is now gone, right? It's now run out. All the extra money people had and were spending and boosting companies, which boosts employment, now that's all running out. But the money's running out, but inflation is still like there, right? Still been there, Yani. The prices have gone up. Like, I don't know, you tell me, bro, how much has like food prices gone up in the since Corona? Like, what is it at this point over the last 4 years? Maybe 20-30%? I don't know.
And you know what? To be real with you, the UK has still got the lowest food prices of many countries. And when I follow the Reddit page called What's in Your Cart, and it's fascinating to see the price of goods in other countries compared to the UK. The UK has avoided this kind of, it still gets expensive in relation to other, other times in
relation
the UK.
To the past.
In relation to the past, of course. But
apparently
they could easily flip the script.
In Europe.
They could easily flip the script and suddenly we'd all be having, ready meals and frozen food and stuff. But I also think I've mentioned this before about the future of Europe, and I also think it's part of the manufacturing of conflict for the benefit of big money anyway. I think it suits big money to destabilize Europe. I think Europe will be the next battleground in the world with Russia and Ukraine and Poland. And every day it's like, every day I'm reading the news, it's like, a Russian plane just went to Germany, or there was a drone in Russia, or Poland just saw an unidentified Russian. And it's like, Poland, and then the news is bubbling like, should the UK bring back conscription? The UK is increasing its defense spending. France is doing this.
Macron saying that, you got to prepare for war. And I've seen all these headlines.
And then meanwhile, and not to underplay anything that's just happened in Palestine and the genocide, etc. Meanwhile, you've got Trump and a lot of the other vocal politicians in the world saying, the Middle East is going to be peace in the Middle East, and we're going to do all this investment, and we're going to do like big money is like investing and building in the Middle East, which was the war zone of the past. Okay, we're going to shift our investment and money in building that way. And where's the military industrial complex going to make its money? It can't do it over there because we're trying to invest and build over there. It's going to have to do it over here. Where's the nice big war? Where can we produce the ingredients for it? And then you read it, and it's like all this rhetoric about. So first you divide the population, then you butt them against each other, then you get all these xenophobic guys in power, and then you go, let's fight Russia. I don't know. Anyway, that would be my prediction. That would be my prediction.
That's another part of the pattern, right, of history, which is the stuff that I mentioned. And then, so COVID, the money came, then the money's gone, but the inflation's still there. So people are struggling economically, and they need a scapegoat. The politicians always need a scapegoat. So in this case, it's immigrants / Muslims. It's kind of been molded together, like mixed together as the scapegoat. Even like Russia, which I feel like the animosity towards Russia was stronger in the UK like 2 years ago or something. Yeah. But now I don't know, I'm not sure, but it seems like that's more of a distant problem than the immigrant problem in terms of the UK discourse.
I feel like the UK, at least not with Starmer in power, but maybe with Farage in power, is trying to like get ahead of that conflict with Russia and just kind of I feel like if those guys did get in power, they'd rather be on Russia's side than be against them. But the rest of Europe, I'm not too sure about. I think the rest of Europe is very actively, because of Brexit, the UK isn't necessarily as committed to that kind of European.
Yeah, the UK is more on the US direction of things, isn't it? I think they kind of made that clear.
But even the US, like if you look at US internal politics, or should I say regional politics, they are very heavily focused on like South America now, Venezuela and all these sort of South American countries and some of the conflicts that they have there. I think they were sending like battleships somewhere down there recently. What's going on Argentina. And it's become like a regional, like they never really had, they obviously did have influence there and stuff. But it just shows you like with the multipolarity of the world, the way it's heading, there's definitely just big shifts. And, maybe in our parents' generation, it was.
If you think about like Europe and how sophisticated the market is there in general, like the economies are very sophisticated in terms of, just the level of products they have. When I say the level of products, I mean you have like very kind of advanced and high quality products in Europe, in the European market, for example, which is the result of a lot of competition and development to out compete each other, right? Meanwhile, in Algeria, there's just tons of stuff that isn't even a thing here yet, right? And because it's just obviously more convenient, like certain products, whatever, they're just obvious that eventually they'll make their way here. But imagine you're thinking about Algeria, okay, 40 million people, okay, quite a decent sized middle class. Let's sell there. Whereas in Europe, it's like a lot of these products have been bought. A lot of people are feeling the weight of the cost of living. A lot of people are not having many kids, etc. In it. So it does become like kind of exciting as a business person to be like, okay, I know these countries are like not that developed. They don't have as big of purchasing power, but some of them are like doing better than others, and some of them, and those are like virgin markets. Like they're not that sophisticated. They're not that, like we could go there and stuff. So yeah, you can see that. You can see that.
The shift. I mean, you can see that just by the realigning of certain global South countries in working closer together. You know, even like we've spoke about BRICS before, for example, but would BRICS even be a thing like 50 years ago? Would like America allow that to happen? You know, all these little pacts that North Africa are doing with each other, like Zaire, Tunis, and Libya that are doing with each other. Tunis and Zaire did like a defense agreement last week or whatever. Like, would France have allowed that? Oh, Mali or Burkina Faso kicking out France, would that have been allowed years ago? If Gaddafi was alive today and tried to pull the stunts he pulled before, would they have been able to? Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot has changed, and there's a lot of decoupling from the Western hegemony that people aren't necessarily paying attention to, because a lot of the rhetoric and the marketing is still very strong. Western marketing is still strong, and the discourse and the dialogue is still strong. And also, I do believe that global South countries do play into that on purpose to get their way, like the way they schmooze Trump. You know, when Trump comes, they still lay out the red carpet and they still treat him like he's the king of the world. But I think more of that is actually out of courtesy, not out of necessity, because I don't think America can afford to be the powerhouse it used to muscle its way around and be. And I think it's easily outmaneuvered now, because you can just, I mean, look at Ahmed Sharaf, for example. He met Trump, shakes his hand. Okay. Today he's in Russia shaking Putin's hand because he can. Because there is that movement now, because there's leverage on all sorts of angles. I can go to China and ask them for protection and make a deal for them. Or I could go and see Russia tomorrow and discuss something with them. Because what's in the interest of him is Syria and Syria's people. And he will have the discussions he needs to have. And he's not necessarily being like, for example, a country like America could give him an ultimatum. Say, okay, if you don't do this, this is going to happen, blah, blah. And he could go, okay, let me go to Russia and see what they're saying. Or let me go to China and see what they're saying. What can you put on the table? Or like Saudi Arabia's recent defense pact with Pakistan. You know, on one hand, you could see that as a defense pact, as what it is. On another hand, you could see that as a gateway to China without spoiling their relationship with America, because Pakistan's got a relationship with China and Chinese weapons and all this sort of stuff. So getting a defense pact with Pakistan allows Saudi to have Chinese weapons without necessarily. Basically, what I'm saying is countries are maneuvering in ways that they maybe couldn't do as much before.
Yeah, it's more fluid than it's been in the last decades. Yeah.
And it opens up.
So what about going back to like the UK? Like, I know, like the way you were describing it, it's like it's a done deal. Like Farage's, whatever the party's called, what's it called? Reform's going to win, and there are all these people that are very emboldened and all that. But wouldn't you also say that that's like 10-20% of the population of the UK? What?
Can I say, a friend of mine, he's a Libyan, right? Half Libyan, half English. He's been in my ear for the past year. Oh, Reform are going to win, and this country's finished, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm quite an optimist. You know me, I'm an optimist guy. I'm thinking, nah, they never win these things. Like, oh, we had UKIP before, and they were tiny, and blah, blah, blah. And then on a whim, I just Googled it. You know, I just Googled it. And I was shocked, bro, at the YouGov statistics.
Wait, you still Google stuff?
Oh, dude. I've got to verify what ChatGPT is saying. You know? But yeah, I wanted to go straight to the YouGov poll and read it for myself. And there was like a Sky News article about it. And look, it could be, you know, they're projections. There is no general election yet. They're projections of the next general election. But because of the fracturing of the two-party system and the you've got these like fracturing of all these other, they're not a majority, but they are the largest party on their own. So they probably they could come into power with a small coalition government with another party, which would likely be the Conservatives anyway, because they would just join them. They'd be like, oh, well, this is the closest we can get to our view of things. And you've got every single day, you've got Tory MPs or whatever you want to call them, politicians that are like defecting to reform and stuff. But bringing it back down to like what you were saying, the done dealness. Would I say that I envision a situation in our lifetime, at least, where the UK gets better for us, for Muslims, for ethnic minorities? How do you claw back when the cat's out of the bag and that rhetoric's spilling over and it's popularized and it's gaining traction and the videos are going viral and the immigrants have done this and there's hotel? How do you claw that back? Like, I wouldn't even know how. It's like spilt milk. You're going to like put it back in the bottle. You can't. Once it's out there, it just proliferates because each person now is a content creator. I've seen it, bro. I was on YouTube Shorts, and YouTube Shorts is a bit of a weaker algorithm for me because I haven't tailored it as much. So I was just flicking through like videos, and then it sometimes it puts you on a live stream, just some random live stream. I ended up on this guy's live stream. This English guy's live stream. He's sitting in his car and he's just filming one of these migrant hotels, and he's got like 50 people in his chat, and they're all like, "Yeah, F them, burn it down, blah 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 blah." I'm like, there's this. He's got 50 followers or whatever it is, and he's doing God's work apparently. He's there content creating. I'm thinking, if this guy is such a small account, imagine all the others, and then the manufacturing of that and who's funding that kind of.
So wouldn't you? But if you wanted to counter that, you would have then the opposite as well. So you'd have people on social media making content countering their narratives and showing how actually immigrants are like this, and actually immigrants are needed, and actually this.
I'll tell you now. I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
The issue I have. How did I put it to someone recently, and I can't remember how I worded it or what the conversation was. But the largest denomination of people that will be fighting against that are these anti-fascist liberal groups that are also so far gone in the other direction, and you are stuck between two extremes of people. This group, and it's, we speak about this all the time. We speak about it all the time, don't we? And we speak about it in schools and education. You've got this group that hate you for who you are, and this group that hate you for the choices you make. Like, you want to teach your kids about Islam and you want them to be conservative. And we're not either. We can't. You know what? I actually admire this right-wing guy's conservative values. He hates me. He hates where I'm from and my skin color and what I practice. But he's a family man. He appreciates family and he wants to have whatever. And then you've got this group. Oh, these two lesbians really love Muslims and they want us to live in peace and harmony. And they support Palestine and they're at all the marches and stuff. Yeah. But when I'm reading the Quran, I have to skip over this surah about.
But aren't you just talking about two extremes and there's loads in the middle?
I don't know. You know why? Because one extreme polarizes the other side.
Yeah, it's true.
And sure, yes, okay, maybe there is that. But maybe I'm skewed because I live in Brighton and that's what I see. I do see the extremes of both sides. Because the only time I see the racists is I see them, they have to be extreme enough to pipe up in a town like Brighton.
For sure.
They have to be. But then you come to Brighton and, I saw someone just earlier, I was just walking, where was I going? I went to get some nappies. There's like this woman, like bright blue hair, like this spiky silver cowboy boots on, just walking casually on her own.
It's a cow ring. What's that called?
Yeah.
Cow
I don't know, like cow ring. Like, you'll see it all, bro. You'll see it all. So maybe I've got a skewed perspective because I live here and I'm just seeing it's like I'm seeing.
You know what what I've experienced, which is not too much of like average like English people. I think the average English person is actually very liberal. Socially, they're very liberal. Like I literally, bro, I've studied just like literally 2 years in the UK, and I worked there like for like 1 year or whatever. And when was this? Probably a year ago. I went to give something to my mum's old friend. So and this lady's like white, English, etc. And then she's just like talking, and then this was before Trump got elected. It was like near the elections, and she started talking. Her husband came or something, and he started talking about Trump and how he's insane. And he's like, I can't believe anybody would vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And he started saying like positive things about Hillary, and I'm like, whoa, like these people really exist, yeah.
Yeah. But
when you look at, for example, stuff like abortion and how accepted it is in the UK, and how religion is declining a lot in the UK. The UK in Europe, Yanni, in the context of Europe, is probably the most liberal country in Europe. Not probably, is definitely, or maybe, I don't know about Scandinavia. It probably is more liberal than even Scandinavia. So the average English person is probably very liberal socially, Yanni, which means they would find it hard to support some of the things we want to keep, about our religion and way of life. And then you've probably got like the more rural English people who are a bit more conservative, maybe a bit more church going. But even then, when push comes to shove, they don't believe in freedom to the level where it's like they would fight to keep, foreign people, foreign meaning just different, weird kind of people in their country. You know what I mean? They're like, we don't see them much. We don't interact with them. They don't bother us per se. But why am I going to put my neck on the line for these people? They don't look like me. They don't speak like me. They don't have the same religion as me and like worldview. It's like, why would I do that? So maybe it's, there's no real allies really. I'm not sure.
Well, the variance with people is so vast. I think that's my issue when I interact with people. I'm so muted in anything I say, in any opinion I have, because I just don't know which one of my mainstream Islamic opinions is going to offend somebody. Whilst you could be in Zaire and you've got this almost monolithic culture. Yes, of course, you're going to have outliers in that. You're going to have outliers. Yeah. But there's this expectation across North Africa of what's normal and acceptable and what's shameful and rude and haram, right? And yes, you've got some outliers. You could be like, you go to Tunisia, and niqab in some places, in a lot of places, in most places, is quite an outlier. But it doesn't mean they don't know what it is. It's just not the norm of the culture. But hijab is normal, and everyone wears hijab, and there's no issue with that, right? Or you want to fast Ramadan, or this thing that. Something recently, like Netflix had this, I'm going on a tangent. Basically, any sort of like filthy media that people come across in those countries generally is looked at with shame and horror, and what the hell is that? Whilst here, you've got anyone you interact with, you've got just such a vast array of different beliefs that you don't know who you're talking to and what they're about. And you can't interrogate them, because that interrogation in and of itself is also seen as a threat and seen as a, I remember once, like, I mentioned like something about the Taliban in passing while I was in the police. Like, it was just, I got caught up in a conversation and I can't remember what it was. And I can't remember what it said. I think it was like about the drug trade. You know how the drugs completely, like, how they were rehabilitating people also. Yeah. I sort of mentioned that in
Joe
passing.
Rogan was talking about that, actually.
Well,
the effectiveness of their rehabilitation.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think I mentioned that in passing because, we're in the police and we deal with drugs, and I was just like, oh yeah, Taliban, when they got about this. And then like it deaded the conversation. Like the whole car ride went silent.
Oh, right. You
thinking,
mentioned the T word.
Yeah. And I was like, oh wait, I kind of got too comfortable and probably overextended this conversation into an arena that I shouldn't have. Yeah. When that shouldn't be a problem. Like, I could be sat in Taunus and say, oh, you see what the Taliban did about the drug thing? Oh yeah, great. Yeah, okay, I didn't want to say that in front of the police. I was a police officer, telling another police officer. So maybe if I said it to a police officer in Taunus, I'd be equally looked at funny. But what I'm saying is, like, you just don't know. Like, there's this vast variety of people. That was a really bad example now, because I've just realized I'm a police officer talking to a police officer about Taliban. And then if I did that anywhere else in the Muslim world, I'd probably get looked at the same way. But yeah, ultimately speaking, it's just that tiptoeing around other members of the public, and tiptoeing around. Yeah. And look, we can't live in these enclaves of Muslims that are, because that's what I do see them as sometimes. I know it's a negative word and it's a word that's used against us, but you do have these communities of of close-knit communities of Muslims surrounding
Leicester,
East
and
London,
Bradford,
Leicester,
and East
etc.
London.
And a lot of those communities do live in some sort of a bubble where they just think everything's fine, And like you could speak to people about leaving the UK that are from those bubbles, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not really interested. Like, I don't really. Where am I going to go? I've got nowhere to go. There's no ambition even to want to leave because they're so. It already feels like they're in a Muslim country in that area, not realizing that like just a few blocks away, you're in a completely different arena. Just go to that neighborhood of London or that other neighborhood of Birmingham, or just step out of Birmingham for a bit and like." You just don't know what's knocking on the door. And you can look at the map, like look at the heat map of reform voters, for example. And you've got these like pockets of big cities where they don't really have a standing. But then everywhere else is like, this blue color, which is their color, just spread across the rest of the country. And I think that isolation just puts you in a bit of a sleepwalking into some sort of terrible situation. Now, sorry to keep harping on, but in reality, if a political party like Reform got into power, how much of their, marketing rhetoric would they actually implement? We don't know. True. But that day or that week they go into power, it will just kick off in the streets. Like people just feel ultimately empowered, and these attacks against Muslims will just skyrocket because they'll think, this is it. This is our moment. We'll take our country back, and we'll burn these hotels down, and we'll burn these mosques, and it's really tense, and it's really unsafe to worry about your kids and your wife and your family just on the streets, doing it every day. Anyway, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of it on a micro level, a personal level, like. You mentioned your wife had that issue with somebody. If that happened, once to your family, okay, it's once. But if it happened twice, 3 times, even if these 2-3 times were spread over 5-10 years, I don't think that cat could be put back in the bag in terms of feeling ultimately safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're living in one of these enclaves, like you said, you probably would feel like it's all good. It's just that sometimes, by the way, it's the same in a Muslim country. Like you've got your local area and your day-to-day things, right? Because most people, bro, and this is what I was thinking when I was moving to Algeria. Oh, that area is terrible. Oh, this traffic is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But most of us, we spend 80% of our life in the same 3 places, work, home, masjid, shopping thing, whatever, right? So as long as those places are okay, you feel kind of generally okay. But the question is, if a new government comes in and they're actually serious about changing certain things, whether it's immigration laws, whether it's terrorism laws, whether it's all of this stuff, that's when you could actually feel it, no matter where you live in the country. You start to feel the thing. And when a government comes into power and they have a bit more sway on the media, then they could actually use that to spread their way of thinking to people who didn't even vote for them, perhaps, as well. So, it's tough, bro. And I can see how, what do you do when you're a minority of a minority? You're literally 3 to 5% or something of the country. Yeah. Naturally, if you're gonna push back, you're going to need allies, right? And there's always been the allyship, for example, with the Palestine thing, of these more liberal leaning people, socialist leaning people. But I don't know, it's true that it does seem that just might not be enough. It might 9/11 break down.
We had this in the 9/11 era, and we grew up with it. My early teens is where I was hyper aware of that kind of stuff. But we also had allies then. We had those left-leaning allies, etc. But the left-leaning allies, I don't think were that far gone back then either.
They weren't as extreme.
They weren't, look, for example, we had a feminist conference at the Brighton Centre, which is a big sort of, conference court, like a concert event area, basically. Feminist conference. Now, 10, 15 years ago, when I was at uni, study feminism, and that was like a major thing. And we used to see that all the Dawa videos back then, what were they about? When it was like, oh, feminism, and we had to tackle feminism and this influence and blah, blah, blah. Guess who was protesting outside the feminist conference? It was a trans community. It was trans activists, loads of them. I drove past it actually, and they'd smashed the windows of this event hall, which is massive on the seafront, well known. Smashed all the windows and spray painted all this like anti-feminism whatever on the. So you've got a group that we were challenging and debating with 10, 15 years ago, now suddenly being challenged by an even further gone group in our eyes.
So it's like splintered. We haven't
even. What was the last Dawa video you've seen on trans, debates? Not much. There has been a few that people have done. Like I'm sure, that Ali Dawas and the Muhammad Hijabs have made videos and stuff about it. But I'm talking like the level of mainstreamness that feminism was and feminism still is, and we still talk about it like it's a current, and maybe it is and maybe it isn't. I haven't really kept up with the Dawa scene. But it's just showing you like the fracturing in the groups and the different people. And, I'm worried in 5 to 10 years, the left-wing movement will be, there's a paedophilia group now fighting the feminists or fighting this, or like, there's a bestiality group that wants to protest against whatever, next atrocity there might be in that time. And I have to... Dude, it's just crazy. It's like Yom Qiyamah right now. Like, it's insane.
It's like even taking the Muslims out of the picture, there seems to be a fracturing of society 100%, in general.
100%. It's crazy. Bro, I went to a where did I go today? Finished work, went to get a chicken salad from a restaurant. Like it was Slim's Chickens or something like that. I don't know if you got that anywhere else, but I went in there. I was like, do you know what? I've ordered my food. I really need to go to the toilet. I went to the toilet. I was like, there's like 4 or 5 actual cubicles, but none of them are like men and women. It was just all a free for all. I was like, okay, this is weird. And I had to I stood there reading the sign, making sure I hadn't read it wrong, because I didn't want to walk into like the ladies one and think, because women might walk in.
What did the sign say?
It just said WC.
Okay.
But I was like, am I reading that wrong? Is that saying women's and I'm just confusing it? Is there a sign that's fallen off? So I'm checking each one to make sure that they're not, like I haven't misread anything. Okay, that's the disabled toilet. Okay, so that's for disabilities. All right. These ones are just, it seems to be a free-for-all. And then I just said, all right, I just got to go into one. I went into one. And then as I'm coming out, a woman's trying to get in. And I'm like, please don't scream, because I don't know if I got it wrong. I just wasn't sure, bro. So I'm thinking like, okay, that's interesting. Anyway,
so you're basically saying it's too far gone.
But I am also in the place that it would go first. Yeah. You got to remember that. Like, I am in the gay capital of the United Kingdom, and it is a free for all, and it can be a free for all here. So maybe I'm at the cutting edge of the technology. Maybe I am at the cutting edge of the left wing. Yeah, I'm on the beta plan. So yeah, I do see that side of it a lot more, and that's why when this right wing racism stuff happened, it was such a shock, because it's like, oh my god, it's reached even here, where we are. Like that's crazy.
That's true.
And
the other thing is, like, post 9/11. Okay, true, there was like 2008 financial crisis and stuff, but since about 2010 to COVID, and even during COVID, it was one of the best economies for a while. And it was a good 15 years of just solid economic growth in countries like the UK, right? Where that was, think about it, 2010 was when YouTube became huge, all these social media companies became huge, Uber became huge, Airbnb, like all these big companies were grown out of that period of prosperity, financial prosperity, right? And when people have a lot of food on their plate, they don't really worry about other people's plate too much, innit? But now when people are struggling, they're like, well, damn, these guys are in hotels. They get free accommodation in the hotels, and then are also got jobs, and they don't pay taxes. So then you start to get a bit, whatever it is, jealous or just upset.
And the cost of living, and look, I hate the whole debate. One of the issues I have about not issues, but like one of the contentions people have about the whole hijra discussion and stuff is that a lot of it is economic hijra, like an economic migration, benefiting for, migrating for economic reasons. And, I think it would be silly to deny that there's truth in that. And a lot of people do leave the UK for economic reasons in the Muslim community, right? But what I was going to say is like the cost of living is insane in the United Kingdom, in terms of like the prices of things going up, the bills going up. Water companies, for example. I got a water bill the other day. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. I was paying, what was I paying? Like £33 a month last year. Now they wanted me to pay £133 a month, which, okay, I'll afford that, I guess. I've got no choice. But other people, a lot of people aren't going to have that choice. And I had to battle them a bit on the phone to kind of cut it down a bit. And I managed to get it down to 97. But that kind of jump for someone is just going to destroy them if they're not prepared for it, right? Let alone everything else that goes up with it. And it's not like you're getting a better service, 40 on average, it's a 47% increase. I think we were just an outlier because my family's grown. So they combined it with the usage of the water and stuff like that. But you read about Southern Water or read about Thames Water or any of these water companies, it's all privatized and it's just shareholder, increasing their portions at the end of every financial year. They're dumping sewage in the ocean and they're doing this and they're doing that and the water pipes are bursting everywhere. Like it's not going to a better service really. And then times that with every other kind of company and every other kind of organization, because the population is dwindling. So you've got to squeeze whatever population you have as much as possible for the pennies that they might have left.
Yeah, whilst, it's like we've invested like in the infrastructure, etc., and now let's just reap the rewards. Harvest. What's it called? Over farming or whatever.
They wanted to before, and it's a big discussion, but they wanted to increase the workforce so they could produce more. So they put women into work by making, giving that whole agenda to women to get into work. And then now the fruits of that is that, well, there's not enough people to sell their produce to. So what do? Like, we can't just become exporters overnight or whatever was produced here. So the local market is just getting destroyed. And then, let's do some infighting. I don't know. Is that like a conspiracy to cull the population? I don't know. It's just awful. It's just awful to think about it when you've got all these like
people in the world that think like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are. And it's crazy. Like that was another thing. Like when an incident happens and you're aware of it, and this used to happen in the police all the time. Like I'd attend an incident, it'd make the news. But I knew the ins and outs of that entire incident. I was there at the start. I was there when it finished. And then you read the comments of these news articles and their conspiracy theories. And it frustrates you because it's like, oh, this is how it starts. And like you look at the Peacehaven incident and it's like, oh, inside job, 100% inside job. Oh, look, now they're asking for a fundraiser. Cool, this is why they did it. They burned it themselves so they can make a mega mosque in Peacehaven. Oh, they're doing it. Oh, look how many thousands they built. Definitely did it. Inside job. It doesn't help that there was actually an incident where a seemingly Muslim man, maybe he just had a name that was a Muslim name, set a mosque alight somewhere else, Kettering, I think it was, on the same day. So people are using that and saying, "Oh, it was a Muslim." See, it's like a conspiracy. He's doing it. They're doing it. They've got a thing going on. They've got a WhatsApp group. And there are, that's how conspiracies start. Little patterns become a whole thing. It's like, oh,
yeah. And then that is crazy because that can actually be turned into real life attacks on people where people 100%. Lose their life or get injured. I mean, I would have to like look at research the details of this, but isn't that what happened in like the ghettos in Germany, where mobs would just go after Jews because there's a rumor that a Jew did XYZ, so it's like, yalla, let's go get him. And there's no what's it called, thingy of law, like legal process. It's just mob rule, I guess. It would be interesting, bro, if reform like actually win. It'll be interesting to see like, would they actually make significant changes or not? Yeah.
I think there would be some changes that, the immigration stuff, I think is an easy one. I think anything that affects people coming into the country and stuff, you can fix that overnight. but then you're stuck with the population problem, because you do need immigration. You do need immigrants.
Well, that's
in the
one
UK.
that I think, that's one where I think they would be much, they would be more reluctant. Like, for example, you know, Elon Musk backs them, right? Elon Musk and all these big corporate people, they know they need labor. You know, they need that cheap labor. They need that energy. They need hard workers. So now what you're finding is a clash between ideological stuff and the economical, you know, stuff. Ideological agenda and economic agenda. Who is going to win that battle? Because, you know, okay, a lot of the time people just follow the profits, but then you do get people as well who are like, look, despite the losing of profits, we believe in this. We're going full force with this. So I wonder how much they actually believe in, you know, this rhetoric. Is it just to get votes, or are they going to just get the votes and then throw the people that believe in those things under the bus? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, every politician does, so I wouldn't be surprised. They're not going to be any different. But it's more
there
about
have been politicians who really do believe in stuff, isn't it? It's just that the last few decades in the UK has been very vanilla politics. No one is really that believes strongly in something. But if you look at Hitler, bro, look at Stalin, look, these people believed in stuff, you know what I mean? Like maybe you might even say Churchill and stuff. I know, like Charles de Gaulle, these people believed, they actually had an ideology, you know what I mean? So perhaps if history is rhyming in that way, there will be the birth. Maybe it won't be Nigel Farage. Maybe it'll be the one that comes after him or whatever. There might be someone who comes along and they actually believe in something, you know what I mean?
Possibly. I think a lot of politicians in general are mouthpieces for whatever, you know, funders and donors and move makers there are behind them. And that's just the reality of the world we live in, I suppose, with this insane amount of corporate power and money flowing from these giant, you know, hedge funds and whatever. It's like they've got vested interest in whatever this country wants to do. So of course, whatever Starmer's saying isn't because Starmer even might believe it 100%. It's because this, you know, this big organization or this lobby group or whatever it might be. And I'm not talking about like APAC or in America, for example, because really and truthfully, look at APAC's actual monetary contributions or monetary influence compared to, like, I don't know, BlackRock, or it just evaporates it. That kind of now, yes, you've got overlap. Of course, you've got overlap. No doubt, there's going to be some levels of overlap, but really, it's those massive behemoths of money that you want to look at and what they're after and what their vision is for certain places in the world, right?
I mean, interestingly, I guess Elon Musk is an example of somebody, seemingly, Annie, from my observation, he actually was willing to sacrifice money for ideology. That's what he's done with X. He bought Twitter, turned it into X, lost a load of money on that from what I can see. And that's because he wants to do whatever his plan is with the freedom that people have got to express these kind of views that we're discussing on this very episode. He wanted to free that up for some reason. So, and then it's interesting how he also seems to be close to the Reform Party. So,
but historically,
and then you've got Larry. What's his name? Larry, is it Larry Ellison? Something Ellison. You know, the Oracle founder. He apparently they're forming a group to buy the American TikTok or whatever version of TikTok. So I wonder if that's an ideological purchase or it's a financial purchase or a bit of both.
I think it's both, bro. I think because Elon Musk is also like, to me, he's just another chameleon, because, you know, look at his tweets or his activity and rhetoric like 15 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever you want to call it. It's a completely different person, you know, left wing, left leaning, all the stuff that you would typically associate with. And then now that it's popular, and I don't think it's because it's popular, I think it's because it's being manufactured and funded by groups that have that ideology. Now, there are going to be characters in those groups, representatives that do hold that ideology. I think Tommy Robinson is one of those people. I think, you know, maybe, I don't know about Nigel Farage, I'm not sure, but there are going to be legitimate people that have those views, that get the funding, and there are going to be people that adopt the views to get the funding, if you know what I mean. And like Trump came into power. Oh, Elon Musk is suddenly, I want to stand next to Trump, and because he wants all the deals that he can get in America. And you got to remember, he's an immigrant as well. He's not from America. He's not born and bred, but they take what they can get and they'll use it to their advantage. And it's just the world that we live in, and we've just got to be aware. I don't want to get into like, it's almost like all that Illuminati stuff we used to speak about back in the day, just a different name. They're not actual secret societies and all this stuff. It's just money, isn't it? It's just people with money. Like, we used to think they were like these little groups that get together. They're like, oh, what are we gonna scheme today? And some of it might be like that, but really, truthfully, it's just money. And we saw a taste of that in COVID, didn't we? When we talk about investment, we did a few episodes a long time ago about like when we were getting into stock market and stuff, and then we realized, oh, this bad thing happened, but I just made money off of it. I said, oh, this must be how Rockefeller thinks. Terrible, man, terrible. This episode's been all over the place, really. But essentially, what we're saying is it's mad in the dunya right now. It's mad in the dunya.
It does feel mad, bro. I mean, it's not like I'm 17 years old. I've seen some bit of life, and it definitely feels a bit wilder than, like these last 10 years are wilder than the 10 years before that. That's for sure. That's for sure. There's more wars, there's more change, there's more fluidity in the world, isn't it? There's more change happening. It's not so much status quo, it's more change. And when a boulder, it takes a lot of effort and energy to get it moving. But once it's moving, then it's kind of unstoppable.
And it's all the wild cards as well, bro. Like, there was like a decorum and a way things were done, and the way like even going to war, like the US going to war was done. It was horrific. It was horrible. Like what they did in Iraq was horrible and stuff, of course. But the way that they marketed it had like this level of, when Obama would do a speech or Bush would do a speech, they spoke like a politician, and now we've got like entertainers as politicians. Trump is an entertainer. That conversation he had with Zelensky was comedic. Everything is a meme. These personalities that are comedians, like, I don't know, what Tommy Robbins said, for example, or whatever, Elon Musk, or these personalities, and these are suddenly influencing political decisions.
A kind of clown, clown that's influencing countries. And
then you've got like other stuff, like, looking at the global south, you've got like, I don't know, Ahmed Sharaa storms to Damascus and takes over. Oh, and he's in Russia now, shaking hands with Putin. And he could probably be asking for Assad back. Oh, and you've got like, the leader, I forgot his name, Burkina Faso, for example. Oh, let's kick out France. All these wild things are happening everywhere. Oh, do you know what? Pakistan and India just went to war the other day. They just,
mad thing.
Yeah, but it's just like, there's not that like level playing field that you would have when there is what we would say is the hegemon of America existing, because of that destabilization of America, and you'd be a fool to deny it. All of these wild things are happening because people are clawing at the space, the gaps that are opening up. People are filling them, filling them,
squeezing into them where they can.
When, like, I always find it fascinating these countries kicking out France in Africa. I know it's not reported on as much, and people don't talk about it as much, but it's fascinating to me because it's happening with such little resistance. Like, look what happened to Zaire to kick out colonialism, kick out the French back then. And now, like, it's like, okay, your soldiers aren't welcome here. Yep, get out. And they got no choice but to leave. And there might be some friction and stuff, but
they swapped them for Russia, but yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. There's gaps, and there's the ability to, I'm not saying it's all great and we're all liberated, but I'm saying there's like leverage, and people are...
Yeah, like that probably wouldn't just be the case before,
because they were so, ingrained and so embedded. But it just shows you the lesson is nobody's on top forever. And actually, in the grand scheme of history, if in 20 years' time, America's just a small regional power, like it exists, but it's very busy with South America or whatever issues they've got over that neck of the woods. it shows you that in the grand scheme of history, they were just a blip, you know, and America really only came to power because of a post-World War II era where everyone else had decimated themselves. And they were like, oh, we're the only ones left standing. I guess we'll just take advantage of that situation. You know, it wasn't like they strove and took over. I mean, it was the United Kingdom really that went to war with Germany and really paid the price. And then America kind of joined at the end, dropped a few nukes and thought, oh, we've demonstrated our capabilities here. You know, when you look at it in that timeline, when we were young, we thought it's always going to be America. America is the one and only, you know, world superpower. And then in 20 years, okay, it could just honestly just be another little, I don't know, the American flag could be toilet paper for all anybody.
You know what's funny as well? You just made me realize, I think it was probably like, even in, when was the Olympics, when China did the Olympics? What year was that?
Yeah, was
China.
Beijing 20
Olympics. Let's see. No, not China at the Olympics. When did they host?
2008?
That sounds right.
It was
2000. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, 2008.
That was the Summer Olympics.
Yeah. 2008. That was part of the period that I remember thinking, okay, now it's China's time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now China's coming up. But that was 2008, bro. And I just feel like we're still waiting for that moment. But I guess they're doing it in their own way, their own kind of a bit more subtle way.
It's not just a subtlety. It's also, we underestimate it, but it's the language barrier as well. Like, we're not going to get that side of the world's, the global South's communique to us. We're not going to get it. We see the world, at least I do in England, and I don't know about you, what kind of media you consume, whether it's English or whether it's anything else, but the majority of this, the marketing and the rhetoric and the lens that we see everything through is this Western lens, really and truthfully. For example, you see this like Gaza peace plan, ceasefire deal, or the recognition of the Palestine by Europe, for example. You watch that in European media, and it's like, oh, Macron did this. Macron, they're great. He led this. He led the charge. And all these European countries are doing it. If you were in the Khalij, for example, watching it through their screens, you would think, oh, Saudi started this. Oh, the Gulf funded this. Oh, because it's being marketed or it's being shown to them in a language they understand. And if you look at the facts, they are comparable. You know, the conference that did it was Saudi-France conference. It was a joint effort. But who really put the money behind for that to happen? Well, probably, you know, people in France are at each other's throats, so it's probably Saudi that really spurred this. What I'm saying is, depending where you are as a media consumer, and if you're in the West, you are still going to be fed that marketing of, you know,
but I just mean
hegemony.
Like,
and
when the US has been on top of the world, we saw that everywhere. Like, we saw that in wars, we saw that in economics, we saw that in the companies that are in the countries, we saw in
but the companies now are so detached from where they originated from. Like, yes, they still market and speak, and their origins are still tied to the West. But if they've got money opportunities in China, they'll go to China and they'll speak Chinese and they'll have Chinese representatives, and like Chinese companies rival them. You know, I watched the video on
but that's Samsung, what I'm saying. Where are these? Where is the Chinese influence in the countries I've been? Like in Turkey, in Algeria, in the UK. Like, I'm just not seeing it to the
your
level.
Biggest message in Algeria is built by Chinese.
Like, I get that. I know it's here and there, but I'm not seeing it to the level of the US.
I think
you know
culturally,
what I mean? And I'm just saying that I've been waiting for that since 2000 and whatever 8.
I think the idea of soft power isn't a Hollywood style soft power, but it does exist in that way as well. They do endeavor there, like the global South, not just China, but the global South in general. Like, look at, for example, the fascination with like Korea, South Korea in North Africa, but in Morocco specifically, the relationship there as well, very close relationship, exchange students and all sorts of stuff. But like, what is it called? K-dramas and all that. It's just all the rage. And then there is a relationship there that's bypassing America, bypassing the West. That's like, oh, Asia, you know, Japan, South Korea, China, and the Muslim world, the Arab world. There is a crossover there if you pay attention to it, and if you actually look for it, and your algorithm attunes to it, you'll be like, oh my god, it's like America doesn't even exist in this conversation. It's like we're just doing things We just do things with each other. It's great. I saw yesterday a concert in Tunisia, daytime thing, probably a tourist thing, but I found it hilarious. Tabbal, Tabbal, the classic Tunisian darbuka with the drums and stuff, and they're doing a little performance. And it's just like this crowd of Japanese people.
What?
And I just thought, this is amazing. Like, obviously, it's music, but what I'm saying is just that the thing. It was such a phenomenon to me. And then I was looking at all these Moroccans that are in South Korea and they live in South Korea, and then vice versa. All these South Koreans that are in Morocco, Japanese people that are in Tunisia. I've got a family member that's like Tunisian. He's married a Japanese woman, lives in Japan, and the relationships these countries have with each other. If you pay attention to, like, I follow all the embassies on. Tunisian embassy, Moroccan embassy, Algerian embassy. I just follow them, and I like to see what kind of relationships and political deals they're making. And it's really interesting if you look at these ties they have with like South Korea, with Japan, that there is this closeness, and there is also like the Asian perspective of Arabs is very romanticized, and we're not aware of it. Like, a lot of us aren't aware of it.
What do you mean by romanticized? Like in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way, but like also like, I don't know, depends how you want to see it. But I was reading this article recently about South Korea's women's infatuation with Arab men or something like that. Like, it's like almost like a fetish almost, and it's like weird. It was such a weird thing to come across, because I was like, really? Like, oh, I thought they were very. I
think they're just desperate for any kind of men.
No, but like, what I'm saying is like, there's this idea that the Middle East is exotic, whilst we are used to the Middle East being seen as a war, a place of conflict and a place of war, because of the lens that the West has given us. But other countries in the global South have their own perspectives, and China might have its own perspective of what the Middle East is.
Of course.
And because of that, the way they use their soft power is different. I mean, look at movies. Look at one of the highest grossing movies of the year last year or this year was like this Chinese film, and it was a sequel to another Chinese film. It was like an animation. I don't know. It's called Z something. I've never seen it, but I remember looking at the charts and I was like, what is this number one? And why has it made so much money? Oh my God, that's a ridiculous amount of money. And I looked and I was like, oh, it's a Chinese film that was released predominantly in China, and it might have come to the West eventually with subs. But I was thinking, wow. Like, that's insane. Or like the highest grossing animated film this year, I remember actually, was like a Japanese anime. I think, oh, that's massive. And then you've got, American movies are maybe regurgitating the same theme, etc. They don't always translate. Another thing you might notice is that when American films get released in certain countries, they adapt them and they change them to suit that market, even if it's racist. Like, there was a Star Wars scandal. I don't know if you've seen like the newer Star Wars films. There's this big poster and they've got the floating heads, all the main characters. One of the characters is a black guy. And because they thought that the Chinese wouldn't like that, because they thought Chinese people are racist, and maybe there is a lot of racism there, they removed him from the poster. So there's like a Chinese version of the poster where he's either really minimized or removed completely. And I see that, and I see the scandal, and I'm thinking, but that's money. That's. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying, look at how they'll adapt because of money. Look, they'll drop the country of origin at the, as soon as they can, as soon as it benefits them. Because
they're not so woke when it comes to trying to get into the Chinese cinemas.
Or like, all these pride things or pride celebrations that they do for Mercedes or BMW or whatever in the West. You don't see that in the Gulf or in Zaire, or it just shows you, if it's not selling, they'll just go somewhere else. They've got no commitment, because even the people that own these companies, they're not sitting in America. They might be in, I don't know, the Maldives over the weekend, or they're just everywhere, and they've probably got citizenships for all sorts of countries. And like the CEO of Uber, I think is it a CEO? He just got given Saudi citizenship. Now that's a soft power move, and that's.
Wait, did you say the CEO of Uber? The ex-CEO or the current CEO?
I can't remember. I came across a video literally before we start recording, so I need to verify. But it was something like that. Like,
dude.
Let me just look into it. Oh, maybe.
Saudi. Let's see. Yeah.
Co-founder, CEO.
Yeah, Travis Kalanick. Yeah.
Yeah, both grounded.
I saw
two
this
of
guy
them.
in Burj Khalifa lounge one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that itself is like,
yeah.
oh, this guy is now a Saudi citizen. And now, you know, say what you want about whatever they're doing, but just on that merit on its own, it's a power play, it's a soft power move, it's a whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it just shows you just the world that we live in is really changing and adapting, and
yeah,
the status quo that we were so used to.
I've just heard as well that I've heard as well recently that Trump removed some restrictions that the US had on exporting these chips to China, which, according to the video I watched, is just going to make it game over. Like, halas, before China was a little bit behind in terms of AI, but now they're going to catch up, if not exceed, because they were just behind because of the lack of those physical hardware like resources. But yeah, it seems like China doesn't express their power in the way that the US does. I guess they have their own way of going about it, and maybe they're just, I don't know, waiting for their moment. I mean, the moment is coming up because, like you said, there's a lot of fracturing in the world.
I've seen I've seen so much across North Africa, really, just so much outside investment, which in itself is buying power. You know, it's purchasing soft power or even hard power, really, sometimes over a country. Like, I've driven in Tunisia before. I'm like, oh, this highway, they're building this highway. Oh, who's built that? Oh, it's Qatar built this one. Oh, China built that thing over there. You know what I mean? Oh, this hospital here was built by Saudi. And it's like, what, we built anything? What was the last thing we built? But then you think, when was the last time America ever built anything in Tunisia? You know, yes, they've got like this fund or whatever it's called. Like, you know, they've got their foreign aid nonsense, whatever that's meant to be. But even that, Trump's talking about cutting the foreign aid stuff because it plays into the whole narrative that we're saying about America's decline. Yeah, America first means America decline. America first means, but it does, doesn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah.
America first means, oh, we can't afford that, so we're gonna just
I suppose it is. Yeah, it's America making a real budget and sticking to it.
Exactly. We can afford Venezuela down here. We don't have to go too far. Fuel is a bit, but and that's why they're getting out of the whole. You know. Anyway. That's another story.
I learned something mad. We have to end, but I learned something crazy today. You know who the biggest producer of oil in the world is?
Is it? Wait, I want to say America. Is it America at the moment?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Crazy.
Which is, it's funny because I mentioned this to someone recently about, you know, talking about the Gulf needs to do an oil embargo and this and that. And I was like, yeah, this isn't the 70s. Like, if they did that, America would make a lot of money because the price of oil go up and they're the only ones exporting.
Yeah.
You know, we don't live in that time anymore.
The US seems to have divorced itself from relying on foreign imports. I guess China's the main, you know, what's it called? The one in need of Arab oil or whatever.
To some extent, yeah. And Japan as well, yeah. And I think I can't remember Germany. But then you got Russia is also exporting as well. But America isn't, I think Russia was number 2. After. I mean, you got to remember as well, America's a huge, like, United States, a massive landmass. Huge landmass.
Yeah.
So of course there's going to be all sorts of natural resources there that they can grab for themselves. It's just interesting when you look at it through the lens of what we grew up with. So everyone's arguments about what the world should do and the Muslim world needs to do are like stuck 50 years too late or 60 years too late. It's like, oh, we should do an oil embargo. I say, okay, let's do one. And then actually we really just made things worse. Now Israel's got more money from America. You know, so
what are you saying, bro? You know, just to kind of conclude the episode.
Yeah.
What's the thing? Stick or twist? Stick or twist, bro?
What does that even mean? What is this? Is that an Irish
saying?
Stick
with the UK. Stick with the UK or twist and be off.
God, I'm like a broken record, aren't I? Too many episodes have I said I want to leave, right?
I mean, look, I was trying to play devil's advocate and I was trying to say, okay, maybe there's an angle, maybe there's a way where you can make it work.
The reason I haven't left isn't because I don't want to leave. Let's just put it bluntly. I've been relative, like I've faced hurdles every time I try to achieve the milestones that I need to get to where I want to go. Something comes in the way, and I'm like,
Oh, so now you're calling your son a hurdle. That sounds
no,
great.
my son was a hurdle. No, it wasn't my son. No, not at all. Not at all. Alhamdulillah. Although he did make me purchase a bigger car. That did set me back a little bit. I can sell that. It's not a problem. No, inshallah, like I said, I'm optimistic, and I've always been optimistic. And despite the fears that I might have, like, oh, my son's quite old and how they're going to adapt and blah, blah, blah. I've got more options now than I did before. Alhamdulillah. I've got more citizenship options now than I did before. So if it doesn't work out in one place, I've got a decent plan in mind. I've got a timeline, inshallah, in my head. And I've also got the encouragement of other close people around me that have just left or leaving very soon. And it's kind of like it's given me another burst of like, oh God, everyone's going. It started years ago, I suppose, when you were already not from here. So you kind of, but you appeared to me as someone that was English and went abroad. Like, I see you as that, even though you don't really fit that bill. But when I speak to you, because you speak English and stuff, it's like, oh yeah. But it started years ago when a close friend of mine who I was very, very close to, who was like my rock when I started practicing, who was born and raised in the UK, who most of his life he wasn't practicing, and he decided he changed his life around, and he decided to move to Egypt. And it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to go to Cairo. No, I was going to go to a rural part of Egypt and help my dad on this farm that he's got, and he's been there ever since. He comes to visit occasionally, and that's the first time it started. I was like, oh, it's like a piece of me just left. And then another one was my father passing away, and I've got responsibilities abroad that I need to deal with, and it's not practical for me to just keep traveling back and forth just to get this done, And then it's just been snowballing. A lot of my wife's friends have left the country. Many, 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 One of the recent ones was obviously your family and your wife. I think my wife and your wife know each other, or at least follow each other a little bit. So she saw those posts and she came to me. She goes, "We need to get out of here. We've gone to Zaire, because I want to go to Zaire too." I was like, "Okay, so 8 hours on the train."
Train.
Zaire and Tunis is like another wilaya of Zaire, bro. It's just no difference, bro. So, and obviously, like a mutual friend of ours, is leaving in a couple of weeks. Who had never spoke about it, who in fact all these 10 years I've been saying, oh, you could go, you've got it all, you've got a really cool like work from home job, you've got your own business, just do it. Like, why are you here? Not realizing that he was scheming, and he didn't say a word to me.
And then he just
said a word to me, and then he was like, hey, by the way, I'm going in 2 weeks. Let's meet up and have a dinner. And I was like, what? So when I heard that, I was like, no, I can't let this. I've been the most vocal about it. And they say you should never speak about your plans out loud. And I've learned my lesson. Clearly not, because I'm talking about it now. But, everything happens. Like, ultimately, and this is advice for myself and everyone else, first and foremost, everything happens in its right time. If you're trusting Allah and you make dua and you ask Allah for what's best. And there are wisdoms I've seen. I've seen wisdoms of why I haven't left yet. If I'd left sooner, maybe my sister wouldn't have been able to get married because I wouldn't have been in the country. My dad had passed away. Alhamdulillah, my sister's married now, and that's covered. I've had another child. Alhamdulillah, that's covered. My father-in-law is really sick and he's getting treatment here. My mother-in-law was sick before she had cancer, actually. Alhamdulillah, she's better now, but being monitored. But that came at a time a few years ago, and I was thinking of leaving then. Suddenly, I remember then, actually, we were talking about leaving, and then I thought, I can't go anywhere right now because, I don't want to do that to my wife. Her mother's sick. Now, unfortunately, my father-in-law is sick and he's getting treatment here. So once again, I'm sort of like, well, I could just do something radical, but I don't want to because I want to see what's going to happen. Inshallah, he gets better and stuff. On that, actually, my wife literally just messaged me because she's listening to the last episode we did upstairs. She goes, oh, her dad's flat is where you live in the same area. So if we were ever to visit, I didn't know that. She goes, if we were ever to visit, that's where we'd be staying. So
I'm through, bro.
We'd be neighbors, bro. So, anyway, So inshallah, I've got a plan. Make dua for us. You know, and
all your kids are born in the UK, innit?
Yeah.
Did you know about this, innit? Like if your kids are not born in the UK, then their kids don't automatically get citizenship.
I think they do.
No, they only do if their kids are born in the UK. But if they're not born in the UK, if you have 2 generations in a row not born in the UK,
oh right,
then it's like
my kids
severs it.
Oh,
your
so
kids,
like my grandkids, my grandkids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It could be the case. It could be why my cousins, like my aunties, always came back to the UK to give birth. My Moroccan ones. Like I had one of my aunties lives in the UAE, and when she was about to give birth, she came to the UK and gave birth here. She's got British citizenship, but she wasn't born in the UK. She got it.
Yeah, that could be a reason.
Maybe.
But I've not done that. I've only done that with one of mine. So yeah,
one of yours is banned. Is that it? That's it.
What?
They're going to be banned from ever becoming a UK citizen. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well,
Tommy Robinson's going to love that.
But I'm just thinking, whenever I think of that far ahead, I'm just like, would they even care about it? I don't know.
Exactly. Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes people think like that. You've got family that pull up those kind of questions. Oh, what about in 20 years' time? Like, they can figure it out. I don't care. I'm doing my bit. They can figure it out. They're going to be adults. Sort it out. I've got to sort out some stuff that my dad's decided years ago. They can sort out my decisions.
Yeah.
You know, alhamdulillah.
All right. Good conversation. Let us know what you think. Obviously, we didn't talk about the US context. That's different. But I feel like, it's a bit different between like Europe and the US in this topic. But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know if you're sticking or twisting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thanks,